Good afternoon, a very warm welcome to Dendermonde here in Belgium. Well, Storm Bella hasn't quite been as Bella as everyone would have liked. We have had tremendous storms overnight and throughout the morning, and this race is going to be pretty incredible this afternoon. Both the women and the men taking to a course that is nothing short of a mudfest. Slight change to the course, which has happened in the last hour or so. The cross this afternoon was actually in danger of not happening. As you can see, the wind 48 kilometers an hour. We've had gusts of over 100 kilometers an hour here in this course itself. 7 degrees centigrade, the wind is strong, the rain is pouring down, and as you can see, it's pretty treacherous for everybody. There was a meeting around about an hour and a half ago between the organisers and the riders and everyone else involved in the organisation, and it was decided that this cross could go ahead with a few changes here or there. Let's take a look then at the standings of the World Cup so far after 2 rounds, dominated so far by Lucinda Brand. She's the leader with 80 points. Second place, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado with 52, and Denise Betsema, who's been pretty consistent so far, with 2 third places, sitting there in 3rd. The revelation of last time, Clara Honsinger in 7th place after her podium finish in Namur. Let's take a look then at the course map. Now this is going to change a little bit to the graphic that you're going to see, but it gives you an idea of what the riders face. This is an old-fashioned field cross, and it's going to be pretty windy, and it's going to be very muddy, as you can see. This is the route that the riders were going to face. So let's take a look. So the riders go out of the start, over the little hill section, through the pits, wind round. We're going to go over the bridge. That's been taken out now, back onto the field and through the planks and back down to the race finish. The race finish gantry has been removed also. The bridge has been removed, and the course is around about 2,650 meters, give or take a few hundred meters here or there, based on the fact that this course has had to be changed considerably in the last hour or so. The riders then are making their way onto the start line. As usual, we will have the call-up of the riders on the front row of the grid this time. We will guide you through who's there. The last-minute scans of the bikes by the UCI. Just checking for any motors. It's the only time any motors have been found in a bike in a race was in the World Championship Cyclo-cross, so there's always all those scans go on. And here's the start list of today here in Dendermonde. We're in Belgium, of course. That's where most of the World Cups will happen this time. We're in the Flemish province of East Flanders as we take a look through the various riders. 63 riders taking to the race start. An interesting addition there in Lotte Kopecky. As she takes to the start line, the Belgian road race champion has decided to mix it up a little bit during the winter with a little bit of cross racing. And there's that very strong American lineup with Clara Honsinger, Katie Compton in her final season of European racing, and Caitlin Keogh also there with Rebecca Faringer and others. Magli Rochette on the start line for Canada. Anna Kay there for Great Britain. Kay has been pretty consistent all season in the Super Prestige and in the World Cups. And Capablanca Vaz there, wearing number 74, the rider who really led the start of the race last week or in Namur, before we had a little bit of a crash from her. Well, yesterday when a few riders got to ride this course, it was lush, it was green. But now that everybody has ridden it, it is completely covered in mud. Pick your riders out now, because I don't think you'll be able to pick them out later on. They are going to be absolutely covered by the end of this afternoon. Last scan of the bike there for the front row of the grid. Everyone just trying to get a little bit of shelter before this race gets underway. Well, last night, Storm Bella hit the whole of Europe. It's been working its way down through Belgium. It hit Great Britain last night with 100km/h winds. Then it got itself into France and through Belgium, and it is absolutely wreaking havoc. I think we're very, very lucky that this race can actually happen today. It was so close to being called off.
Leader in the under-23 overall standing from Hungary, Blanka Hulst. There she is.
Anna Kay just making her way onto the start line. Blanka Vas, the Hungarian revelation, just trying to keep warm before we get underway. It really is one of those days where the cold gets right into your bones. Anna Kay there in the red. And here comes the world champion, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. She looks like the form is starting to improve now. She had a first place on the 23rd of December in the X2O trophy. So she looks like that block of training that she had put in is now starting to pay some dividends. She looked very, very tired, of course, in the first round of the World Cup. And in Namur, I'd say she wasn't really 100% on it either, but now she is really starting to look a bit stronger. So we'll see how today's cross goes for her. Riders squeaking onto the start line with those disc brakes. There's Lucinda Brand, dominant so far in this World Cup. Last couple of riders just arriving there at the back. Jackets just being taken off. Everyone just trying to stay as wrapped up as possible. Only a minute or so now till the race start. They've got to keep the masks on, of course. It's Denise Betsema riding for the Pauls-Sauzen team. They're basically the organisers of this World Cup round this time in Dendermonde. Jürgen Matapingen is the manager of Pauls-Sauzen Bingual team, and he is the organiser. So he's the one who's had to really make some pretty hard decisions over the last couple of hours here. Puck Peters on the start line for Alpecin Fenix. She's been riding really well over the last few weeks. There's Anna Kay. She, of course, led the Under-23 World Cup last season. Blanka Vas, the World Cup leader as Under-23. There is the world champion, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Just trying to stay warm. 30 seconds then till the race start. Lucinda Brand there in the white and red jersey as the World Cup leader. And alongside her, the final rider on the front row of the grid, Alicia Arzuffi of Italy. The red lights are on, the heartbeat is going in the background, and the green light is on. Here we go. Very important to get a good start, as always. And in the middle, it's Puck Peters, who is looking really strong as she accelerates away into the first corner. Blanka Vas also up there at the front. Anna Kay looking good also. Kay, oh, a little bit of a tumble there in the background. The French champion hits the deck. And Christine Majeras already getting held up as well. So Marianne Norbert Riberal was held up by that little tumble. And at the front of the race, automatic, Denise Betsema trying to go clear. She likes these sort of conditions. Trying to get away. Lucinda Brand on her wheel immediately. She's not going to let her go. Puck Peters up there in third place. Fourth place, Katja Blanca-Vas, then Anna Kay, then Sanne Cant, then Marianne Vos, who's riding her first round of the World Cup today. Denise Betsema has a little bit of an advantage now. She's used to this sort of trudging type of racing. She likes to ride in the sand in particular. Really got to be feeling strong today. And Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, the world champion, is not having the best of starts. Onto the little hill. The bridge has been taken out because of the wind, the gusts that were hitting 100 kilometers an hour. It was causing major issues with the bridge across the course, and it was deemed to be too dangerous. Now a little tricky section, downhill, slight camber. As Katja Blanca-Vas gets onto the bike, Sanne Cant having her best start of any World Cup so far this season. As they settle down now, Eva Lechner also up there. Her mountain bike prowess might come into good stand here as Lucinda Brand takes a bike on the left-hand side and Denise Betsema still leads. Sanne Cant trying to get herself up to the front here. The Belgian champion, former world champion. And Marianne Vos already looking good. Let's take another look then at the race start. A bit of a problem getting the feet in the pedals for Celine Del Carmen Alvarado there. Here's another little replay. You can see her start and a little bit of a slip of the pedals as she got started. That's why she's so far behind already. At the front then, the two riders that we've got used to vying for the front position. Look at the amount of surface water as well. As Lucinda Brand goes to the front now to try and dominate the pace. Betsema in second place. Marianne Vos in the orange on the right-hand side. Slots into fourth behind the Belgian champion Sanne Cant. Then it's Anna Kay. In the blue is Puck Peters. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado just taking her time, working her way through the field. And a big problem there for Katja Blanca-Vas, who just couldn't get the pedals turned over. Lucinda Brand leads then. Has that little bit of an advantage. Denise Betsema just tucking in on the wheels now. Sanne Cant, this could be a great return to form for the former world champion. Marianne Vos, well, her power will certainly start to come into play later on in this race. There's Marianne Vos leading that little group, trying to make her way back up to the trio at the front. Sanne Cant there on the wheel, just staying in contact to the moment. It's been a long, long time since we saw Sanne Cant at the front of one of the rounds of the World Cup. Great to see her back like this. The last time we saw her was in Hoogerheide. She was third place behind Lucinda Brand and Annemarie Verst. This sort of cross will suit her quite nicely. So it's almost a year then since we saw Sanne Cant at the front, and then before that we didn't see Sanne at all at the front of a cross until Zolder the year before. So she could now really start to feel like she's finding some form, she's finding some momentum. Then we could see Sanne come back to be the rider of old. Brand now leads onto the hill again. We'll get an idea of how many laps it's going to be. Short laps, of course, this time. Can hear the breathing of these riders as they make their way up the hill. Puck Peters had a very good start, but now it's starting to tell. This is one of those days where you really need to keep all the power on all the time. Tyre choice important, tyre pressure important. But when it comes down to it, there's going to be no hiding at all in this race. It's all about whether you have got the form and the power to stay near the front of the race. Sanna starting to suffer just a little bit here. Marianne Vos sitting there in 4th place now, dropping down, I think, into 5th. Annemarie Verst making her way through. She missed Namur, decided to take a little bit of a break.
5 seconds behind.
May well have refreshed her. As Lucinda Brand gets into a little bit of a puddle there and just cannot keep the bike going forward. Sanna does the same. Basically, when you get to that little section, the bike comes to a complete standstill. We might see quite short races today. Puck Peters having a few issues, so is Ellen van Looy there. And where Lucinda Brand decides to run, she puts the bike on the shoulder nice and early. Denise Betsema rode for just a little bit longer there. So the race situation then, Betsema leads with Brand, or a little bit of a tumble. Betsema finding it difficult to find her feet again. Sanne Kant safely there. So many sections of this course you can't even think about riding. Betsema through there, doesn't manage to continue to ride. Sanne Kant does, so she's safely through. You need to take that left-hand line. Getting close to the end of lap number 1 of racing, and Lucinda Brand this time goes out and is already opening up a little bit of an advantage on the rest of the field. You can hear the grit in the chain. Celine del Carmen Alvarado having a really good recovery. Lucinda had a good Christmas, spent Christmas with the parents of her boyfriend. Then she had to then be on her own in the lead up to these 2 races. Zolder Super Prestige yesterday. Lucinda Brand was the winner. Traditionally, of course, we've been in Zolder for Boxing Day. This time, though, Puck Peters just finding the bike completely plugged. Traditionally, then, we're in Zolder on Boxing Day. This time, though, the World Cup of Zolder became a super prestige race. It was won by Lucinda Brand yesterday. Celine del Carmen Alvarado in 2nd, and Annemarie Verst in 3rd place. Then Betsema, then Manon Bakker, then Inge van der Heijden. The revamp of the World Cup meant that this time we were going to be in Dendermonde always for the 27th of December. I don't think we expected it to be quite this muddy. Brand goes past the pits. I know a few of you have messaged over the last couple of weeks, how many bikes does a rider have in the pits? Well, Lucinda's always got 3 bikes in the pits. The mechanics are going to be very, very busy today. The jet wash is there in the pit, so the bike will be swapped over. The mechanic takes it, cleans the bike over, gets it ready for it to be picked up by the rider, tries to get it in as good condition as possible. Lucinda says she always has 3 bikes in the pits. Onto the planks now, and she's being hunted down by the world champion, who's come from quite a long way back. This is a good ride by Alvarado. Sanne Kant still maintaining her position in 3rd. Then Denise Betsema behind her in the red also of 777 is Annemarie Verst, then it's Marianne Vos. Clara Honsinger not having a great start, but now making her way back through the field as we see the riders heading out to complete lap number 1 of racing. Sanne Kant goes through, a little bit of a gap back to Denise Betsema. Marianne Vos trying to use the tarmac to good effect as we get towards the end of lap number 1. There's the finish line, a little bit blurry. There is no finish gantry, as you can see. And that was an 11-minute and 6-second lap. When it's adjusted, it will become a 10:51 for Lucinda Brand. That means she averaged 13.26 kilometers an hour on that first lap. Honsinger's now moved her way into 6th place. Sorry about our finish camera. It's very, very wet out there. The murk of this racing. Pretty atmospheric, I suppose you could say. The race situation then, let's give you the top 10. Lucinda Brand leads, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado second, Sanne Kant in third, then Denise Betsema. Following her is Annemarie Verst. 20 seconds down is Clara Honsinger. Then it's Manon Bakker in 7th place, having a good few days here in Europe. Marianne Vos in 8th place. Then Yara Kastelein riding for Credishop Friestads in 9th place. Then it's Fen van Empel of Paul Sozen-Binguel in 10th place. Behind them is Katja Blanke-Vas, then Inge van der Heijden, then Christine Majerus, and then in 14th place, Katie Compton. Brand not too far away here from Alvarado. Katie Compton still in the top 15 here. She's spending this season in Europe, then she will retire after a season spent in the USA. She's going to retire in Arkansas at the World Championships. That will be her last ever race. She's had such a magnificent career over the last few years, and it's great to see her spend her time in these European races to say goodbye to them all. A little bit of a tumble almost there by Lucinda Brand, and Alvarado is coming up to Lucinda Brand here. Thanks for all your messages. If you'd like to message in either on Instagram or Twitter at @McCrossan, at UCI_cycling. Don't forget there's also a cyclocross feed at UCI_CX as well. Gervais PO, thank you for your message. Martin Dufour predicting a 4-lap race. Let's have a little look and see. I think you may well be right. If they go to 5 laps, it will be well over the 50 minutes. Tyre choices today are definitely mud tyres, no doubt whatsoever about the tyre choice. They'll have very low pressure in them, though, to just try and find a little bit of traction. 33 millimeters is the maximum width of the tyres. Oh, a little bit of a fall there by the world champion. Trying to come across now to Lucinda Brand, and she's almost there. Clara Honsinger still in a good position here. She keeps herself going. Then she could find her way back up towards the front. Sanne Kant trying to stay in contact for the podium finish here. And now Brand is joined by the world champion. Honsinger just in front of the rider in white, Katja Blanke-Vas. I thought her interview last week was superb in Namur when they said it was a long time since an American had finished on the podium of the World Cup, and she said, well, no, not at all. She knows that Katie Compton has had so many podium finishes. in so many races, and in fact she'd finished in Namur just a few races before on the podium behind Anna-Marie Verst and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. This is lap number 2, and the world champion is trying to dominate the pace. She's letting Lucinda Brand run, and she is riding. Shows that the legs are good today. Sanne Cant also able to ride that particular section. This mud is incredibly deep. As you can see, there are so many sections where you just see the bike plug into the mud. And now Alvarado trying to press on a little bit. Brand has got used to riding from the front, and on a day like today, if Alvarado can continue to dominate a little bit like this, then at one point, one of these riders could crack. That steep run-up really is taken out of the legs. There's the American champion. I know so many American fans have been shouting at their screens for this rider, who has really come of age in the last couple of weeks. So Alvarado, she finished second in Tabor behind Lucinda Brand, of course. Last time she was 4th in Namur. And now she's starting to attack. It's a slow motion attack today, of course, but it's starting to pay off as Brand starts to fall away a little bit here. Alvarado just showing that maybe all this training is paying off. The 22-year-old Dominican-born Dutch rider into that deep mud there, gets off the bike. Brand just trying to hold on here. She wants to keep her unbeaten record in the World Cups intact. We've had some real battles over the last few weeks with Brand and Alvarado, and also Denise Betsema in the Super Prestige. And Alvarado, having slipped her pedal on the start line, is now in the ascendancy in this race. Starting to eke out a few seconds. Look how deep the mud is here. Trudging her way up the hill. It's very windy out here as well. Have to be very careful on this little descent. Slight adverse camber. Got to pick your footing very, very carefully. Get yourself back on the bike when it's safe to do so. The race situation then, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado leads on lap number 2 here in Dendermonde in Belgium. Lucinda Brand in 2nd place, Sanne Cant in 3rd place now. Behind her, Denise Betsema, then Anna-Marie Verst. Around about 9 seconds behind is Clara Honsinger, leading Manon Bakker. Then it's Fen van Empel having a fantastic ride here in 8th place, riding for the Pauwels Binguel team. Marianne Vos a few places back there, riding 10th at the moment. They're in the orange. The world champion has 9 seconds advantage on Lucinda Brand. It doesn't look like it, does it? Just keeping that momentum very well indeed. Looking strong today. Alvarado really seems to have the measure of this course. She's picking a good line around here, looking for little areas where the bike is able to find a little bit more traction. Oh, look at this. Now, this is what happens when you find a little bit of a puddle. Katie Compton, pretty much knee-deep in mud. And she's very lucky she came out with any shoes. Alvarado, right-hand side of the screen. Lucinda Brand goes in to pick up one of those 3 bikes in the pits. Gets herself going again. You have to admire the fitness of these riders, because you try trudging your way around one of these fields. This is such an old-fashioned cyclocross, just a mud-slinging type of day. Honsinger now almost on the wheels of the riders in front. So she's not far off the podium again, the American champion. Alvarado has already won in Leuven and Gieten and in Rudevorde. She won in the X2O Trophy the other day on the 23rd. Second in Tabor. She had a crash in the urban cross in Kortrijk the day before Tabor. May well have shaken her up quite a lot. Then all the riders, of course, had that 1,000-kilometre drive between Kortrijk and Tabor in the Czech Republic. So a lot of riders were very tired. Sanne Kamp was one of the riders who took a plane, but everybody else drove. As we see Alvarado now making her way towards the end of lap number 2. Then we'll get the rundown of how many laps it's going to go, and we are seeing that it's going to be 4 laps of racing in total. Honsinger is almost podium bound. Alvarado coming up towards the lap end. There it is, right there, and she goes through with an 11:02 lap, a little bit slower than last time. Her fastest lap is a 10:53, which is an average speed of 13.22 kilometers an hour. This is the group behind for 3rd place. Annemarie Verst, Sanne Kamp, Denise Betzemer and Clara Honsinger about to make the junction. She's only 5 seconds behind. Behind her is Fen van Empel, then it's Katja Blanke-Vas. This is the group with Christine Majerus and Marianne Vos. Marianne Vos's record in cyclocross is incredible, isn't it? When you look through her palmares, 7 times the world champion. She may well be wishing she didn't choose this World Cup to come back to. As Vos completes the lap there. This is lap number 3 of 4. Alvarado showing why she's the world champion today. Lived in the Dominican Republic until she was 5, then moved over to the Netherlands. She really is showing today that the form is coming back. Onto the uphill section. Still has 7 seconds intact as Lucinda Brand tries to get back on terms. Sanne Kamp leading this little trio. Honsinger not too far away now. If you're a fan of the USA riders, now's the time to start cheering at your screen, because Honsinger's trying to make her way across. And she's now going to make the junction. A few more riders coming back as well. Brand has not given up here. She is coming back a little bit. Dominic De Silva, thanks very much for your message. Nice of you to join us. If you'd like to get in touch, at Ant McCrossan, at UCI_cycling, where you can get hold of me on Twitter and on Instagram. Dominic, the riders will clean the bikes in the pits. You can see there on the left-hand side. They will not, they will try and change to clean bikes as much as possible, so that the mud doesn't clog up on the bikes, although it's pretty wet mud today, so you're not going to get too much clogging up. And now that the riders are all on disc brakes, it means the brakes no longer get clogged up the way they would have done when we had traditional crosses like this many years ago. A few of you asking, will this race get stopped if the weather gets worse? The only way it's going to get stopped is if the wind picks up. But there was a big bridge across the course, and that has been taken out. And that means that the race is likely to go all the way to the finish. Anna-Marie Verst onto the rundown section. And now Lucinda Brand is fighting her way back to the world champion. Steve Fleck, hello to you. Paula Williams, thanks for your message. So just to update, if you're just joining us now, that we had a big meeting at 12 o'clock today to decide whether this cross could happen. Overnight, we had Storm Bella, which hit Europe, and this cross was in real danger of not happening. They had to make a lot of changes over the last hour or so to make this cyclocross actually take place. They had to remove the bridge, remove the Finnish gantry because it was too dangerous. And now we're going to see this race go to its conclusion. All the riders have to deal with is the mud and the wind and a pouring wet conditions. It's absolutely treacherous. There's Christine Majeras, one of the best domestiques in the world on the road, riding as the Luxembourg champion. Chris Hard, I'm glad you're enjoying the racing, and very pleased to see Marianne Vos back on the start line today. Also on the start line is Lotte Kopecky, the Belgian road race champion. She's mixing up with a little bit of cross. Sanne Cant still looking for a podium finish here. Two riders now still at the front as Brand doesn't give in and comes back to the wheel of the world champion. World champion in the rainbow bands, World Cup leader in the red and white jersey, Lucinda Brand in second place. Brand really enjoying being in the World Cup leaders jersey. She messaged me a couple of days ago just to say that she'd enjoyed Christmas and she's really thriving in this World Cup leaders jersey. Her first opportunity to wear the jersey. The Hungarian Vas straight up there onto the bike as now Brand tries to put Alvarado under pressure. Manon Bakker shouldering the bike there. Alvarado has tried to break Lucinda Brand, but so far it hasn't worked. Lap number 3 of 4. Here in Dendermonde in East Flanders in Belgium. This is Belgian bike racing, isn't it? Honsinger is now in a podium position, third place on the field. Lucinda Brand tends to do a couple of days of running a week, mostly with the bike on the shoulder, she says, just so that she gets used to this position. She gets used to having the weight of the bike. Sven Nace, of course, is her team manager. This is the last week of racing of the traditional Telenet Valois Lions kit. Oh, and Alvarado finds one of the deepest sections of mud. Let's take a little look here. She was running well, but unfortunately, she found one of the deepest puddles. She's lucky she's got shoes left. Alvarado fighting her way back onto the wheel of Lucinda Brand. 30 minutes have gone by. As you can see in the background, a lot of the coverings of the various barriers also had to be taken down. So much has happened over the last 24 hours on this circuit. It's going to be an interesting outcome, this one. Which rider is going to take the victory today? The two best riders in World Cyclo-cross at the moment in women's racing, dueling it out at the front. There's Alvarado again finding a bit of mud, and Brand also finding a really deep section. Oh, and Alvarado tumbles this time. You really do need to be a rider with so much commitment to do this sport. See the rain bouncing off that wood section in the background. Alvarado, just the bike completely plugged. Honsinger now in third place for the USA. Sanne Cant, a resurgent Belgian champion, in fourth place. Lucinda Brand trying to break Alvarado now as she tries to trudge her way clear on the front of this race. Thanks for all the messages. I'm glad you're enjoying this festive cross. Saeed Asali, thank you for watching. Saeed and Jennifer, lovely to hear from you. I'm glad you're enjoying the mud and the pain. Hope it's nice and comfortable on your sofa. Lucinda Brand round this next little turn. Alvarado has dropped back a little bit. There are moments on this course that feels like it could be a little bit like a cartoon moment, isn't it? Where a rider just disappears into some huge puddle. Honsinger now is doing what she did in Namur. This is an intelligent ride by this American champion. She has continued to just keep the momentum forward, riding at her own tempo, and she is not far off the wheel of Alvarado. She's now 8 seconds behind and closing in fast. Fastest lap so far, Lucinda Brand with a 10:51. We're coming up towards the end of lap number 3, and Honsinger is heading for another podium. Sanne Cant in fourth place. They get the bell. 1 lap of racing to go. It's going to be a short race today, but I don't think anyone will complain about the lack of the 50 minutes. It's going to be well over 40. Brand goes through in an 11:22, so another 20 seconds slower. Alvarado trying to find a little bit of pace, but Brand now is kicking on. Brand is so strong when it comes to just that little bit of extra stamina from her road riding that really starts to pay off. Brand now opens up 9 seconds. Alvarado in second place. Behind her, just 9 seconds back, is Clara Honsinger. Alvarado looking at her second podium of the World Cup so far. Second in Tabor, fourth in Namur. Brand looking for a hat-trick of victories. And Brand has not been beaten in the World Cup since Nome in 2019. Well, this would be her 4th win in a row. She won in Hoogerheide, one in Tabor, one in Namur. This season's World Cup, 2 wins already. As we see Christine Majerus. Alongside her is Yara Castelline. Well, we'll see brand new colours of the Telenet Baloise Lions. coming up after this round of the World Cup. There's Marianne Vos. We've had a real battle at the front, haven't we? Alvarado leading at times, Brand leading at times, and Honsinger finding her way through the field from quite a long way back to get herself now up towards the second place. She's closing in now on the world champion. Brand with 17 seconds. Doesn't look anything like it, but it's 17 seconds by the time you get to the end of this long straight. Honsinger there in third place. Let's run through the top 10 for you. Lucinda Brand, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Clara Honsinger, Sanne Cant, Anna-Marie Verst, Katja Blanca Vass, Fem van Empel, Denise Betsemer, Manon Bakker, and now Christine Legeres are the top 10 so far. Sanne Cant heading to fourth place at the moment, possibly, as Honsinger now catches the world champion. Thanks, Chad Brown, for your message. What did I get for Christmas? What did everyone get for Christmas? Did you get bikes? Did you get things for bikes? I was very lucky. I got a lot of presents, which was nice. A few bike-related things, of course. A few things for when we get travelling again, which will be very nice. And we do major travelling, so a little bit of a tumble there by Manon Bakker. Lucinda Brand. Honsinger now in second place. Behind her, the world champion, Alvarado. I hope some of you got bikes for Christmas, or at least stuff to do with bikes. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to do the festive 500 at the moment. I'm glad I'm not doing part of it on this course today. But thankfully, they decided we're allowed to do some of it on Zwift, so I did a little bit of it this morning. But I have to say, it's quite a hard challenge. Alvarado splashing her way through the puddles. Sanne Cant with Anna-Marie Verst just behind her. Cant is one of those really tough bike riders. Today is one of those days she'll probably finish and say she enjoyed. Brand senses the possibility of a third win in a row in this year's World Cup. Honsinger just trying to get slightly ahead here of Alvarado. This would be her second podium in the World Cup this season. She's managing to ride through this section, which is really good to see. And Alvarado finding it a little bit difficult, having to run. Honsinger already on the bike. Alvarado gets back on now. Honsinger straight through the middle section. Alvarado takes the left-hand side. Luckily, it's not too deep. Fourth lap of racing. This is going to be the slowest cyclocross in a World Cup we've seen for years. DeLuca, thanks for your message. I'm glad you're enjoying the racing. Just to bring you up to date with some other riders, Eva Lechner is in 13th place, the Italian rider. Rebecca Faringer is in 17th. Ahead of her is Madigan Monroe, rides for the Trek Factory Racing team. She's in 16th. Caitlin Keogh's in 19th place. Lotte Kopecky riding well in 21st place for Lotto Soudal. Katie Compton in 27th. Anna Kay in 28th. Magali Rochette in 30th. Still coming back from a little bit of injury. Rodriga Silva enjoying watching Marianne Vos. Well, yeah, there's no doubt that she's competitive. She is some bike racer. 7 times the world champion of cyclocross, Steve Anderson. Hopefully my update for you for the Canadian riders was useful. So Maghalie Rochette 30th, Ruby West is in 31st place at the moment, and Sydney McGill in 48th at this moment in time.
En ook Dendermonde gaat een kolkje naar de hand van op dit ogenblik.
Honsinger going away now from the world champion.
Honsinger nog altijd een lengte of 2-3 voor Alvarado. Die strijd is nog niet helemaal beslecht.
Martha George, thanks very much for joining, and I'm glad you're enjoying the racing. So the women getting towards the end of this round of the World Cup. Lucinda Brand catching a lapped rider, which you don't always see because normally riders are taken out by what we call the 80% rule. That Swiss rider just finding the mud there on the left-hand side and trying to find a way out of it. Honsinger now, avoid the mud there on the left-hand side. You don't want to go anywhere near that huge puddle. Alvarado picking her way through, almost came a cropper again. So the race situation, Lucinda Brand heading towards her 3rd victory in a row. Honsinger in 2nd, going for her 2nd podium. And Alvarado in 3rd place, looking at her 2nd podium in this year's World Cup. Hear the wind blasting its way across this course. Sanne Cant, 4th place at the moment. Then Anna-Marie Verst. Then Fem van Empel has moved all the way up into 6th. Behind her is Capablanca Vass. And Brand now opening up an advantage. 18 seconds on the 2nd place rider. We're going to have a race of somewhere around 44 minutes by the looks of things, which will be short, but in lieu of the fact that we've had so much time with possibility of this race not happening. I think it's amazing we've even got a race today. Lucinda Brand along this section for the final time. Chris Willett, the legs of Alvarado have gone now. Yep, they have. This mud is just taking everyone's legs away. Look at Honsinger. She's around 14 seconds behind. She can see Brand in front of her. There's the pits area. Very, very busy today for them. Lovely shot there of Honsinger making her way along this section. She's actually closing in on Lucinda Brand. Can she get even closer? There is Alvarado. That's a very tired world champion now. Well, she had a bad start, slipped her foot off the pedal, fought her way back, went all the way to the front of the race, attacked Brand, tried to go away. Brand now gets off the bike, a little bit of a running section. The wind is blasting across this particular area, over the planks again. By the end of this race, you're going to know that you have been in some physical turmoil. Sanne Cant trying to get herself back up there towards the podium. Honsinger safely over the planks for the final time. Lucinda Brand through the rain, the mud, the murk here in Belgium. She's going to take another victory. It's been extremely hard fought. She has been battered by icy cold rain, by mud. It's been a slog of epic proportions, but Lucinda Brand is going to win. She's only going to have covered just under 10 kilometers, but what a race it's been of 45 minutes. Lucinda Brand takes a hat-trick in the World Cup. Superb racing by Lucinda Brand. Behind her is going to be the American again, Clara Honsinger. Well, last time she emerged for the first time in Europe on a podium of a World Cup. This time she consolidates it with second place. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, the world champion, back on the podium in third place. Fourth place is going to be Fem van Empel. Wonderful performance by the young rider from Pau Sourzen-Bingual. Behind her is Annemarie Verst. She's in fifth place. Then Sanne Cant in the top six. The finish of Katja Blanca-Vas. These riders freezing cold, covered in mud. They've had rain pouring on them for an hour. Here comes Denise Betsema, who was the leader of the race for a short time. She's going to be eighth. Betsema comes in around 124 down. Then it's Manon Bakker, wearing number 6 there. She finishes in 9th place today. Then it should be Yara Castelline or Christine Majeres just behind. Yara Castelline comes in. She completes the top 10. Then it's the Luxembourg champion, Christine Majeres. Then the Italian, Alicia Zuffi. The arrival then of Yara Castelline. Then it's Christine Majeres. Then Alicia Zuffi. Behind her will be Eva Lechner. There's the Italian champion round the corner. And just behind her is the familiar style of Marianne Vos. Vos finishes in 14th place. This is the last time we will see Marianne Vos in the colours of CCC Liv. Moving, of course, to the new women's Jumbo-Visma team. Just coming across the line now is Madigan Monroe. And the arrival of Lotte Kopecky, the Belgian road race champion. Rebecca Faringer just finished, so 2 Americans finishing there in the top 20 with their country rider Clara Honsinger on the podium. The arrival there of Caitlin Keogh. There's Sophie de Boer, a former winner of the World Cup, of course. She finishes in 21st place. Then it's Clausel. Puck Peters is coming in now. She led for a little while today off the start line. Puck Peters in 23rd place. Then it's Inge van der Heijden in 24th. And behind her is Katie Compton, who we saw stuck in the mud for a little while. Next rider completes the course, that's Magali Rochette. And the arrival of Alicia Frank. Behind her is Laura Verdonschot. Then it's Anna Kay. In a few moments then, we're going to hear from Lucinda Brand. Let's take a look at the results of an incredible race here in Belgium. Dendermonde, the host of the third round of the World Cup. Lucinda Brand wins in 45 minutes 27 seconds. Behind her in second place for the second time running, Clara Honsinger of the USA. Then it's Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, the arrival of Fem van Empel there in fourth place. And great to see Sanne Cant there in sixth. We'll let you digest the rest of the results as we flick through the various places. Let's take a look at the standings of the World Cup after 3 rounds of racing. No question whatsoever as to who is leading. Lucinda Brand at the top of the standings there with 95 points. Behind her is Celine Del Carmen Alvarado with Denise Betsema in third place. And in a few moments, we'll hear from the riders and their thoughts on today's cross. But let's take a look at the highlights. A little bit of a slip off the start line by the world champion. See there, she had a very bad start. Lucinda Brand, Betsema and Sanne Cant were the riders who led at the start. Marianne Vos also up there with Puck Peters. And at this point, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado was working her way through the field and Clara Honsinger was nowhere to be seen. Numerous little falls by various riders. The worst section on this adverse camber with that huge puddle on the right-hand side. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado managed to find her way through the field and then attack Lucinda Brand. But Brand never really gave in today, did she? She looked strong throughout. A little bit tired maybe on lap number 3, but after that, Brand came strong again. She hung on to Alvarado, the world champion, trying to dominate the race. Honsinger worked her way through the various groups and eventually arrived nearly at the front. This was the point where we saw Alvarado have some difficulties after that tumble, and then she really never recovered from this point. Brand went clear. Another display of power by the rider from Telenet Baloise. And Honsinger caught the world champion. The American champion really is on song over the last few weeks. She almost started to close in on Lucinda Brand. At the finish, it's a hat-trick so far. Tabor, Namur, and now the win in Dendermonde. Such a tough race today. Very, very difficult for all sorts of reasons. Well, in a few moments we hear from the riders and then we'll have the podium presentation of the third round of the UCI World Cup. A few more adjustments being made to the course ahead of the men's race. Maybe just to try and give the riders a little bit more of an indication of the best parts of the field itself. They're doing everything they can to ensure that these races are able to continue. So a few stakes being taken out, a little bit of rerouting going on. Let's hear now then from the riders as we take a look at the actual standings. I thought the points were wrong last time. Lucinda Brand now on 120. With Alvarado second and Denise Betsema in third place. Honsinger moves up into 5th, courtesy of her recent performances. Lucinda Brand then has been the dominant rider in the World Cup so far. Let's hear from her here at the end of the race.
Lucinda Brand, proficiat met jouw 10e overwinning al van het seizoen. Hoe heb jij dit modderfeest beleefd?
Echt mega zwaar. Ja, het was echt... Ik weet niet of je ergens kon rijden waar je wel een beetje tempo kon houden, maar ik heb het niet gevonden.
We dachten heel even, ze is te snel gestart, want plots was er een kloofje van 10 seconden met de wereldkampioen Alvarado. En dan heb je het toch helemaal dichtgereden, hè?
Ja, ik weet niet. Het was gewoon heel lastig. En ik ben op een gegeven moment nog wel gewisseld naar iets zachtere banden. Misschien maakte dat nog weer verschil. Ik weet het eigenlijk niet zo goed. Het was ook gewoon heel erg zoeken. Het was zeker wel in het begin ook in je ritme komen. Maar ja, sparen zat er ook niet bij, want hoe langzamer, hoe moeilijker. En het was echt ook op een gegeven moment van ook gewoon maar van ja, ik ga maar alles lopen achter op parcours. Want het was gewoon zo moeilijk doorheen komen. En ja, dat werd alleen maar erger.
Ja, jullie doen uiteindelijk 45 minuten over nog geen 10 kilometer. Als je
ja,
dat
staat helemaal nergens op. Volgens mij kan ik harder lopen. Dat weet ik eigenlijk wel zeker.
Dat kan je zeker.
Want ja, ik heb wel eens 10 kilometer sneller dan dat gelopen. Dus misschien volgende keer toch mijn fiets thuis laten.
Nee, maar je bent verplicht om die mee te nemen, die fiets.
Ja.
3e overwinning in die wereldbeker, 3 op 3. Dan ga je voor die 5 op 5, denk ik.
Serieus thuis laten?
Dan ga je voor die 5 op 5, denk ik, in de wereldbeker. Als je nu al aan 3 op 3 zit.
Ja, nou ja, dat is heel leuk als dat zo is. Ik ben heel blij, heel mooi dat ik nu al een 10e overwinning heb. Een mooi jubileum ook voor de sponsor om mee af te sluiten. Omdat we natuurlijk afscheid nemen van Telenet. En ik denk dat het wel mooi is om zo te eindigen.
One more question in English. How was it to power your bicycle in the thick mud today?
It was really hard to power it. I put a lot of power into the bike, but it didn't move anywhere.
Yeah, you're close to the victory in the World Cup.
Yes, only 2 races to go. And yeah, it's really nice to have a lead like this. But there will be 2 hard courses coming still.
Yeah, and now you can rest. Thank you very much, Lucinda Brand.
A nice interview with Lucinda Brand, reflecting on the fact that she covered less than 10 kilometers today in winning this World Cup. So much power put through the bike, but no real momentum going forward. It is an absolute slog out here. I don't think she can believe how far she traveled today. 9.7 kilometers in 45 minutes. Brand also thinking about the sponsor Telenet, because they've supported this team so well over the last few years. The end of the team, as we've got used to seeing it, it will be a different looking squad come the 1st of January. The pits have been cleared from the women's race. We're going to see the podium in a few moments. And of course, we'll have the men's race. So a few bits of course change now, just to try and keep this course rideable. The riders making their way towards the podium now. So much work being done by the events crew out here to try and keep this race on. We just need them to keep the course rideable for another hour and a half, I guess, to get to the end of the men's race. This rider's absolutely freezing cold. The podium of the third round of the UCI World Cup.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we have your attention please for the official award ceremony after the third World Cup Cyclo-cross race this season, held today in Dendermonde. Graag uw aandacht voor de officiële huldigingsplechtigheid na afloop van de derde wereldbekermarge, vandaag verreden in Dendermonde. Op de derde plaats geëindigd als regerend wereldkampioene. Third place as reigning world champion, Celine del Carmen Alvarado.
Celine in third place today in Dendermonde.
Celine del Carmen Alvarado. And then, after a splendid race last Sunday in Namur, she did it again. Second place today. Well done. Second place for Clara Honsinger.
Honsinger really has arrived in the World Cup, hasn't she? 2 second places.
3 out of 3. 3 of 3 in the wereldbeker. Je moet het maar doen.
So much has been done in the USA to try and get these riders to the World Cups and to races with the Mud Fund and other ways of supporting them. And Honsinger and all that support and help has paid off. Lucinda Brand, the top step of the podium, unbeaten in the World Cup so far.
And may I invite Miss Amina Lanaya as the official UCI representative today for presenting a new white and red colored World Cup leaders jersey.
Lucinda Brand pulls on the leaders jersey. She'll wear that in the next round.
Blijft dus uiteraard aan kop in het algemene klassement. May we now have your attention please for the national anthem.
And now for the national anthem.
Mag ik heel graag uw aandacht vragen voor het Wilhelmus. Well done, ladies. Proficiat aan de dames op het podium. Celine del Carmen Alvarado, de derde. Clara
There's the podium here in the third round of the World Cup. Alvarado, Honsinger and Brand.
In de wereldbeker 3 overwinningen op 3. Je moet het maar doen. En dus ongelijkbaar aan kop ook in het algemene klassement. Chapeau, dames. Proficiat.
I don't think they can wait to get inside and get warmed up.
Elite die gaan starten om 15:05 gaan die van start gaan in hun derde wedstrijd van het seizoen in deze wereldbeker.
Well, the course is just getting a little bit changed ahead of the men's race. We've seen a real slog in the women's race, and we're looking forward to seeing how the men deal with this course now. Thank you very much to all of you who've messaged in. Thanks for joining us here in Belgium for round 3 of the UCI World Cup. We're going to get ready for the men's race. Thanks very much for joining us. Well, we look here at the mud and the sections, of course, that have had to be rethought. Join us in a few moments for the men's race. Bye for now.
we bij de dames hebben gehad. We gaan dus de laatste 8 heren, dus de beste rangschieten, helemaal op de tijd van de kant van Hamburg op plaats te nemen. De heren zijn dan Michael van Toenland, Wandel van Aert, Toon Aert, Ras van der Haar, Matthew van der Poel, Quinten Hermans, Corné van Kessel en Daan Soele. Die gaan dus niet verzamelen met al de rest, maar die gaan 100-tal meter voor de startgrid zich verzamelen deze hard. Onder andere renners gaan we zo meteen uitnodigen om hier richting start besloten te komen. Om dan binnen een paar minuten met het appel te kunnen starten. We zijn straks met 66 renners in totaal. 66 renners die gaan starten voor deze derde wereldwinkelwedstrijd van vandaag in Dendermonde. Op dit moment moeten we ook zeggen dat er een kleine aanpassing gebeurd is aan het parcours. Op de kleinste grond op het parcours is het allerslechtste stukje, daar waar de renners daarnet tot bijna boven de knie in de modder zakten. Wel, dat stukje is eruit gehaald. Die bocht is lichtjes afgekort. Het parcours is dus een 50-tal meter korter gemaakt, zodat het allerslechtste stuk niet meer moeten aandoen in de wedstrijd bij de heren. De verantwoordelijke van de startlisten, de responsible person for the starting system with the lights is invited to the start list. De responsable pour les deux de départ est invité au départ s'il vous plaît.
Good afternoon, welcome to Dendermonde here in East Flanders in Belgium as we get ready for round 3 of the men's UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup. Last time out, it was a wonderful race between Wout van Aert, Tom Pidcock and Mathieu van der Poel. Ultimately, Mathieu van der Poel took the overall victory after a stunning performance by the young British rider Pidcock, who led all the way until a lap and a half to go. Today's race is very, very different to what we saw in Namur. It was fast in Namur. This time, it's going to be a complete slog. The wind's still very, very strong here on the course. The rain is pouring down. It's 7 degrees. It feels about 0. It's windy. It's going to be, if it's a word that maybe shouldn't be used too much, but it is going to be epic this afternoon. The riders are getting ready to come to the start line. We're going to see a total of 66 riders on the start today. Everyone just getting themselves warmed up for the race start. There is the world champion, Mathieu van der Poel. There's so much water on this course now. As we take a look at the standings overall in the World Cup, it's very, very tight at the top. Michael van Turenhout is the leader. He took the first round in Tabor. He finished 4th last time. He has a 7-point advantage on Wout van Aert, with Tonerts in 3rd place and Lars van der Haar pretty consistent so far, now in 4th place. Mechanics making their way into the pits. The riders with 1 bike on the start line, of course, and 2 bikes in the pits, 3 bikes in total on the course itself. A few little adjustments have been made to the course itself. You just saw the bridge in the background. That's no longer being used, but let's take a look here at the course before that bridge was removed. So a little bit of a hill that you may have seen in the women's race, a 2nd hill on the course, and the planks just before the start-finish line. A traditional then field cross. Not too many obstacles along the way. The big obstacle is the field itself. Tonerts just warming up. Just a reminder then that the bridge isn't used at all. Tom Pidcock with his umbrella, keeping himself dry. The bridge is to the side of the course, but not being used now. The Finnish gantry has already been removed as well. As we take a look at the start list next of today's race and take a look at who's taking part. Mathieu van der Poel leads the start list there, wearing number 1, Lars van der Haar wearing number 2. And as we look through, there is the rundown of the Belgians in the race, with Michael van Turenhout, the World Cup leader, Wout van Aert wearing number 18 there. Curtis White there for the United States of America, 4 riders from the USA. The French with Steve Chanel wearing number 42 there. Felipe Orts, the Spanish rider, who really is improving all the time. Michael Vandenham there for Canada. Tom Pidcock with Thomas Main and Ben Turner in the British squad. There's the Luxembourgers, and 1 Australian in Heinrich Hausler, of course a professional rider for Bahrain McLaren. The British riders lucky they can actually race. They stayed here in Europe. The borders between Britain and France were closed a few days ago. They're now open to freight traffic. So luckily Pidcock and his teammates there stayed in Europe, didn't go back to the UK at all. Tom Pidcock has just tweeted, this afternoon is going to be epic. There's Michael van Turenhout, Lars van der Haar, who's been riding really well recently. Van der Haar managed to secure a podium finish in Zolder yesterday behind Van der Poel and Wout van Aert. The course has been checked to make sure there's no riders left in mud puddles anywhere out on the course. And we're getting this race underway very shortly. So a big field of riders, 66 riders, slightly larger than the women's field. They're now being called forwards, and we'll take a look at the front row of the grid. Corne van Kessel there, just taking the last jerseys off. Alongside him, Lars van der Haar. Van der Haar, under 23 world champion, of course, in his career. Then the World Cup leader, Michael van Turnhout. Won in Tabor, he was 4th last time. He was always with the leaders, hanging on most of the time. Mathieu van der Poel, who had a win yesterday in Zolder. Looks concentrated today, doesn't he? 3 minutes now until the race start. The masks are off, all the riders getting set. Quinten Hermans, who has looked strong over the last few weeks as well, finished 5th in Namur. Hermans took 2nd place in the Robot Land course in Essen. That's Toon Aerts, the former winner of the World Cup, the defending champion. Then Wout van Aert had a statue unveiled a few hours ago. Van Aert just cleaning the glasses, getting himself set. Final member of the front row of the grid, Dan Soot. Tom Pidcock starting 2nd row of the grid with Laurens Sweeck. Also on that row of the grid, Felipe Orts, Gianni Van Meesch. Ryan Camp also there, so is Curtis White of the USA. Just having a look here, Laurens Sweeck on the wheel of Wout van Aert, I think, so he should get a good start. That's Heinrich Hausler right at the back for Bahrain McLaren. He's been riding the World Cup crosses over the last season or so. It's helped him, that flat-out effort, really good for top end when he's on the road. Now Van Aert getting the shades on ready, choosing the dark lenses as always for the race start. Mathieu van der Poel choosing the clear lenses. Heinrich Hausler decided to choose, looks like almost a Gabba jacket he's going to race in today. Everyone getting set. Wout van Aert looking forward to today. He really is. He's been tweeting about it. He's been talking about it. He was interviewed yesterday. The interviewer said, "Do you look forward to ankle-deep mud tomorrow?" And he said, "Yes, I really do." And the interviewer said, "Lars van der Haar doesn't." And he said, "Well, I can understand that. If I'm ankle-deep in the mud, Lars is knee-deep in the mud." Wout van Aert's looking forward to a great race. Underway then. A big start by Mathieu van der Poel, right in the centre in the rainbow bands. Left-hand side is Wout van Aert. Lars van der Haar doesn't have a good start there. He often is a very strong starter. Now a fast right-hand turn onto the mud, and now it's a slog. Van der Poel leads through that section. It really is all about how much power you've got and your ability to ride in these terrible conditions. Van der Poel already kicking away at the front. Van Turnhout in 2nd place. Then it's Wout van Aert in the yellow of the colours of Jumbo-Visma. Then it's Quinten Hermans and Corne van Kessel. Corne van Kessel is the leading rider of the Tormans team there. Then Lars van der Haar, one rider choosing to get off. Tom Pidcock finding his way through on the inside. Dan Soot is up there. Toon Aerts trying to come across to the leading riders. Mathieu van der Poel, the leader, the World Cup leader, is just behind Michael van Turnhout, going with the move here. Van der Poel looks so strong already, though, doesn't he? Turnhout's having a good start this time. He didn't enjoy Namur at all. Pidcock has had a reasonable start, but not a great start. Pidcock's got to come from the second row in the grid. He messaged me just before the race starts, said the mud's really very, very deep, and he said it's a slog. As far as he's concerned, the best slogger will win. Pidcock makes his way up on the right-hand side. Let's take a look then at Mathieu van der Poel. Van Aert shouldering the bike. Remember the women's race, they covered less than 10 kilometres in 45 minutes. A few riders taking bikes. Wout van Aert takes a bike that time. Nice, clean, Celeste-coloured machine. Van der Poel just trudging his way through this little twist and turn. The riders will have looked at the course, and then the course has been slightly changed, so they might find a couple of little bits of surprise here or there. They rode the course before the women's race, and they rode the course after the decision to remove the bridge. Lovely shot here as you see the riders just trying to find any little bit of traction and momentum. They really are riding well, though. Van der Poel on the front. Van Turnhout having a very good start there in the white and red jersey. Belgian champion Laurens Sweeck not too far behind. Oh, Wout van Aert has got a problem here. And Corne van Kessel and Wout van Aert. A little bit of a clash, and the bikes were joined together. Here we get a little bit of a tracking opportunity from our drone shot. Wout van Aert a little bit further behind now. Van Aert trying to find his way through. He really does want to ride well here. Just take a look at what happened around this little turn. And a little bit of a slip, and that's what happened. So basically, a slide, and the bike locking onto the back of Wout van Aert, who was just not even aware of it. Corne van Kessel having a long slide down the bank. He almost went down there like a toboggan. Turnhout's now at the front, followed by Mathieu van der Poel. Pidcock moves into 4th or 5th place now. Michael van Turnhout in the white and red, just behind. Wout van Aert in around about 8th place, now in 10th. So those of you who've just joined us, originally we were going to have a course with a big bridge in it. We also had a few other twists and turns around the field. But overnight we had Storm Bella that hit, 100-kilometre-an-hour winds. And there was a meeting at 12 o'clock this afternoon to decide even whether this World Cup happened. And thankfully, thanks to the organiser, the team of Jürgen Metterpenningen, the manager of the Paul Soursen team, they managed to reroute the course, rebuild it, get it ready, get everybody able to take part. The weather is a little better now for the men's race than it was for the women's. The rain is not pouring down quite as much. The wind has calmed, so the storm seems to have abated a little. But what's left now is an extremely muddy course. Pidcock now making his way up towards the front, leading. is Quinten Hermans. This is a very good start for him. Van der Poel takes to the mud there on the left-hand side. Toon Aert sitting in 4th place. Wout van Aert's recovered from that little bit of a coming together of the bike of Corne van Kessel and his. It's really going to come down today to whose legs don't give out by having to keep the power on all the time. There really is no let-up, no hiding place at all. You've got to get your tyres right, the tyre pressure right, and just be feeling good. If you don't feel good in this race, you're going to have all sorts of issues. You've also got to just find a little bit of traction here or there that other riders don't find. Maybe just take a line that other riders aren't finding either. Notice, just follow where the riders are, and you'll notice Pidcock is taking a different line to Van der Poel most of the time around this course. Quinten Hermans leads for this Toormans team. Rides for the Circus team on the road. Winner already of Flèche de Sud. He's twice been the European champion at under 23, 5th in Namur already. Quinten Hermans, a few podium finishes already this season in the other cyclocross series. So there's the X2O series and there's the Super Prestige series as well. And Van der Poel seems to here be opening up a little bit of an advantage as Hermans goes with him. Toon Aert is trying to come across. Pidcock is also there. Behind him is Wout van Aert. The shoulders are going all over the place. Proper slogfest. Toon Aert seems to be going better this time. Not had the sort of season that he had last year. Remember, in the various rounds of the World Cup, Toon Aert started off with a 2nd place in Iowa, 2nd place in Waterloo, 2nd in Bern. Then he finished again in 2nd place in Namur, 2nd in Normay, 2nd in Hoogerheide, and eventually won the World Cup. This time, Toon doesn't seem to quite have that sort of form yet, although he finished the first round in 4th place behind Van Aert and Isabit and Van Turenhout. Heading back down to complete lap number 1. Wout van Aert closing the gap. 2 Red Bull riders, as you can see, with Van Aert and Pidcock. And we'll see the comparison of lap number 1. Toon Aert, though, riding well, coming up to the riders. And we're going to have a leading group of 5 or 6 after 2.5 kilometres. That lap time, a 9:11. So the lap, 15.67 kilometres an hour. Just a comparison then of the women's race. The women did the first lap in 10:51, the men in 9:11. The women's average speed 13.26, the men's 15.6. The conditions have changed a little bit. Quinten Hermans now continues with the pacemaking on the front. He was 3rd in Zolder last season. 3rd in Iowa as well the year before. He's steadily becoming stronger and stronger in cyclocross terms, but that road condition is also going to be very, very useful for him. In fact, when you look at the riders now at the front of this cyclocross, all are on the road, aren't they, in major teams. So Quinten Hermans riding for Circus, which now becomes the Intermarché team. Mathieu van der Poel can't even question his record on the road already. world champion of cyclocross. Wout van Aert had the best season this year compared to any rider, really, with the amount of victories that he had. Tom Pidcock's just signed for Ineos Grenadiers. Pidcock having a few little issues here as he just drops back a couple of places. Pidcock not finding this little section to his liking. He went from around about 5th place to just dropping back, but there's a clear leading group now. So Hermans, Van der Poel, Van Aert, Van Turenhout, Pidcock, Tonet, Corner van Kessel, and also up there is, I think, Kevin Kuhn, not too far off the leaders. Pidcock just dropping away a little. As Quinten Hermans kicks on a little bit more. Shouldering the bikes now. I don't know whether Pidcock has a problem, but he looks to have gone from 5th place to now just dropping away slightly. Just looking to see whether he's got a puncture or something, or whether he just really dropped off the pace. Once you lose the wheel here, you've just got to try and hang on away a little bit like the women did earlier. And now Wout van Aert finds his way to the front, and he's now going to try and capitalise on that position. Wout van Aert leads. Behind him goes Mathieu van der Poel. This is the group of Laurens Sweeck. They're around about 22 seconds behind. The Belgian cross champion, Laurens Sweeck, as Van Aert shoulders the bike and now starts to push on a little bit with the running. Just taking a look here, a few riders. Oh, a big face plant there. That looked pretty painful, didn't it? Very shaken, the German champion. Van Aert leads. Mathieu van der Poel sticking there. And now they're starting to grow their advantage, these two. Well, we saw them in Namur working together to come across to Pidcock, which they eventually did. And then it was Van der Poel who did capitalise on that attack. Van Aert did most of the work. Van der Poel just trying to ride where possible, staying on the bike, just shows how good he is technically. Finding a little bit of green on the left-hand side to keep the bike going forward rather than being in the mud. Now shoulders the bike to stay up with Van Aert. So no Ellie Isabit today, unfortunately. You may have seen yesterday he had a big crash in Zolder. Overnight, Ellie has had a little bit of a trip to the doctor. He had some x-rays, no fractures to report, which is wonderful news for the European champion. He said this morning he expects that he will return in Bâle on the 1st of January, New Year's Day. Had to sleep with a brace on his elbow last night. He said when the painkillers wore off, though, this morning, then the pain was pretty bad. And the joint is very, very swollen. We're lucky that Ellie Isabit will not have to sit out for too long after that crash yesterday. It could have been an awful lot worse. He was in a lot of pain after the crash in Zolder. Zolder became a super prestige yesterday. We've traditionally had it as the festive World Cup. But now this cross here in Dendermonde has become the World Cup, run by the manager of the Pauwels team. Now this place is not too far from Ghent, as we see Pidcock with Tonerts. We're in the Flemish province of East Flanders. Dendermonde dates back to the 15th century. Around about 45,000 people now live here. And it's famous for its Benedictine Abbey and also for its 14-kilometre heritage steam railway that runs out of the town itself. For those of you who've had to put up with the news for the last 4 years of Brexit, it's also the former home of the former Belgian Prime Minister, Guy Verhofstadt, who has been the chair of that long and arduous negotiation. Wout van Aert on the front, in the yellow of Jumbo-Visma. Mathieu van der Poel, we can just about pick out the rainbow bands as the world champion. Thanks for getting in touch this afternoon at Ant McCrossan on Twitter or on Instagram, and you can join us at UCI_cycling. And don't forget, there's also at UCI_CX for all the cyclocross news that goes on. And if you'd like to follow the live timing at UCI.org on the web, that's where you can find the live timing of what's going on. And it tells us at the moment that Mathieu van der Poel is right up there at the front with Quinten Hermans in third place at 16 seconds. Then Corne van Kessel, the World Cup leader, is 17 seconds back, and Tom Pidcock at 25 seconds. Heading now towards the end of lap number 2. Over the planks for this trio. Hermans, behind him, Corne van Kessel, then Michael van Turnhout. Pidcock coming across the planks now. Then Turnhout's just behind him. Pidcock seems to be getting going again as we see the completion of lap number 2. And we're going to see 7 laps of racing. It's going to be a long race. An 8:55 lap that time, the fastest lap of the race so far from Wout van Aert, 16.13 kilometres an hour. The trio come across the line now, looking for third place with Hermans, van Turnhout and Corne van Kessel. Then it's Tom Pidcock. Behind him, Tonerts. Then it's Laurens Sweeck. Van der Poel just losing the wheel here of Wout van Aert, having to accelerate a little bit to try and come back to him. Chris Cover, I hope we've just answered the question about Elizabeth. Happy Mudfest to you as well. It's Mudfest Day. Prof Bowers, how do riders get Red Bull helmets? Well, they are Red Bull athletes, so they're sponsored by them. And Pidcock and Wout van Aert, both for cyclocross, sponsored by that company. As you'll notice, Mathieu van der Poel has chosen to wear full leg warmers today. Wout van Aert not, and Van Aert starting to go away. I don't think there's any real disadvantage to Van der Poel in wearing full leg warmers. He's obviously just trying to stay as warm as possible. Van Aert, though, is just riding away now as Van der Poel goes into the pits. Perry Lindstrom, hopefully my update on Ellie Isabit has helped you as well. So Isabit, no fractures, just a very swollen elbow. But he did say that a couple of days afterwards you were able to see the true impact of that injury. And he hopes to come back for the Basel Cross on the 1st of January. Basel Cross, of course, linked so closely to Sven Nys. Hey, Thurston Hicks, was it too cold for the other interviews? Yeah, the riders We didn't get interviews with Clara this afternoon, unfortunately. Clara Honsinger, I know you were trying to hear from her. Got wonderful... oh, Wout van Aert. A little bit of a fall there. Just going downhill, just lost his footing. It's a little bit difficult in that section, and Wout van Aert hitting the deck. Mathieu van der Poel also nearly hit the deck. Here's a little bit of a replay. Van Aert just lost the footing totally. Luckily he's okay and he's back up and running. Van der Poel riding a nice little cadence there, isn't he? Just trying to keep the bike going forward. Van Aert's just opened up quite a few seconds now. The timing is saying around 4 seconds. It looks a little bit further than that now. There's Tonertz leading Pidcock. Pidcock now in 7th place. And then Laurens Sweeck moving up in 8th place. Wout van Aert did say he was going to be loving today, and so far it is his day. He's just riding away from everybody. It's a very impressive performance by the Jumbo-Visma rider. Some of you asking about the tyre checks and whether there are tyre checks. Yeah, all the bikes have been checked before the race start. They are scanned as well, and they go through a check which includes making sure that all the tyres are the right width. They cannot be any wider than 33 millimetres. Any sort of conditions, slightly wide tyres may help the riders. Van Aert using a lot of time to run here. He's run that complete section rather than choosing to even ride it. And judging by some of the times, you might well be able to run the course just as fast as you can ride it. Van der Poel dropping away a little bit, 16 seconds behind. Van Aert is giving everyone a little bit of a lesson in mud riding. I'm trying to think back to the last time we saw a cross like this. It's quite a few years, I would say. If you go back the last couple of seasons, then maybe Namur is perhaps about as close as you get to something like this, but we haven't seen such a muddy field cross for years. Really testing out the running of these riders this afternoon. It really finds out whether you train running, how much you train in sloggy courses. Van Aert all over the place, isn't he? Look at that. Just trying to keep all the momentum going forward. It's very impressive how fast he's riding. Kicking the bike left and right here or there. It's Marcel Miesen. He was the rider who took the face plant earlier. He's decided he's had enough. So he's decided to take his number off. Gives the little tracker back. Definitely not his sort of day. Look how deep the bike is going in these muddy sections. Wout van Aert almost up to above the ankles as he pedals through that section. I wonder how many finishers we're going to get in this World Cup. Let's run through the top 10 for you then. Wout van Aert leads. Mathieu van der Poel is in second place. Corne van Kessel in third. Quinten Hermans in fourth. Then it's the World Cup leader, Michael van Turnhout, who, if he stays there, will lose the World Cup lead today. Then it's Toon Aerts, then Laurens Sweeck, then Tom Pidcock, Gianni Vermeersch, and then in 10th place, Pim Ronhaar, the Dutch rider, in the top 10 for the first time. Further on back, just some other riders for you. Lars van der Haar is 14th. Ben Turner and Thomas Main of the Great Britain riders, they are in 15th and 16th. Curtis White of the USA is in 20th place. Michael van den Ham of Canada is in 27th place. But our leader is making short work so far of this course, despite how difficult it is. And he's opened up now 27 seconds already on Mathieu van der Poel. Van der Poel's got to try and find something here. Yesterday, the race was his. He's had a few tussles so far this season since he came back to cross with Wout van Aert. He was second to him in the X2O trophy. As Wout van Aert completes lap number 3. 7 kilometers completed. Average speed 16 kilometers an hour. That was a 9:04 lap that time. So he's gone 9:11, 8:55, 9:04. Good lap time there by Wout van Aert. Here comes Mathieu van der Poel. We'll get an indication of how far he is behind. We've been so used to Van der Poel being the rider who is in the lead like this. 29 seconds with 4 laps of racing to go. Now, in this sort of cross, anything can happen. The mud, having problems with the bikes. Rider falling. Let's hope nothing happens, but this race is never over until we get to the end of the lap. As we see the next group of riders coming through. This is the race for third place with Corne van Kessel, Quinten Hermans, Michael van Turnhout. Coming up to half an hour of racing with 4 laps to go. So it was Van Aert who's already had a little bit of a fall. He already had a clash with one of the bikes of another rider, but he's still out in the lead. Thanks very much for joining us. This is the end of lap number 3 of this UCI World Cup cyclocross. Gianni Vermeersch crossing the line just ahead of Tom Pidcock. Then the gap back to the next group of riders with the former World Cup winner Toon Aerts now in 6th place. Ronhaar goes across the line. T-Aerts also as Wout van Aert comes into the pits. A lovely new clean bike. Gets onto it very quickly, starts to kick on, trudges his way through this just muddy, wet track. Van der Poel is all over the place here. Van der Poel has a decent advantage, around about 32 seconds on the group of Corne van Kessel. There is Lars van der Haar. He's saying he's had enough. Van der Haar is getting off. Some days there is no point continuing. Think of other objectives, think of other races. Van der Haar takes the chip out of the number and says, that's it, I've raced enough today. He had a really good race yesterday in Zolder. 3rd place, got the podium finish for the weekend. He wants that morale to continue, I'm sure. So he decides to call it a day. It's really not his course. On this sort of course, you need to be a power rider like Wout van Aert. What a season he had Strade Bianche, Milano-San Remo, stage of the Dauphiné, stage of the Tour de France, Belgian champion, silver medalist in the World Championship, road race and time trial. Already 3 times a world champion of cyclocross. It's been a while though since Wout van Aert won a World Cup. Think back to last year, he was fighting back all the time, wasn't he, from his injuries of the Tour de France. If Wout van Aert wins today, it would be the first win in a World Cup cyclocross since Pont-Chateau in the 2018-19 season. It's been a long time. Here's the chasing group. Wout van Aert onto the hill. Mathieu van der Poel through the puddles. Van Aert growing the advantage. 38 seconds now for this rider. Think back of Van der Poel all last season. We didn't see him in the World Cups for too much of the time because of that terrible injury to his leg. Dissimilar to the injury of Chloe Dygert, really deep into the muscle. He had so much rehabilitation, but he's come back probably an even stronger rider. Days like today ask you those sort of questions. Has this rider rehabilitated? Are the muscles still as strong? There's no doubt whatsoever. Van Aert last season, when we look through at the various different rounds of the World Cup, he just didn't have any of the results, but he's come back so strong this season. Van Aert was the World Cup winner 2016 and 2015. Hasn't won the World Cup for a few years. But this victory could give him the World Cup leader's jersey. See the way he's hauling that bike forward. World champion, of course, 3 years running between 2016 and 2018. And even with his road schedule, he's able to compete like this. Very, very impressive indeed. So Wout van Aert leads on lap number 4 of this round of the World Cup, the 3rd round of racing. It'd be amazing to be able to see Wout van Aert's power files after today's race, because he really is giving everyone a bit of a lesson. 52 seconds now, the advantage. Van Aert trudging his way, slogging his way through the mud. Just so much stronger today on this course. There is Tom Pidcock running in 10th place. Well, he's right in what he said to me today. The best slogger will win. And the best slogger so far is Wout van Aert. Smaller riders like Pidcock at a distinct disadvantage to the likes of Van Aert. Just looks like he's full of running, isn't he? He's thriving in this race, whereas other riders cannot even remotely stand it. He is just loving it. This is his sort of course. Now he's almost a minute ahead of Van der Poel already. Well, if you'd like to get in touch, if you'd like to know where your favourite rider is or something, then please let me know. We'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on as Wout van Aert comes up to the end of lap number 4. 3 laps of racing remain. There's Toon Aerts trying to find his way into the pits. The entrance to that pit now is so mud and wet that it's so difficult to just even turn right and get into it. As Wout van Aert completes another lap. That was a 9:20 lap that time. Two more rounds of racing remain. I'm going to go to Hulst next, as Mathieu van der Poel comes round to complete his lap. This is Toon Aerts, who is now running 3rd place in this World Cup. This will be a good performance by the World Cup defending champion. He's starting to find his legs in this race as Van der Poel crosses the line a minute behind. Now, Van der Poel is not that far ahead of Toon Aerts either. He's about 29 seconds. Behind them is the World Cup leader, Michael van Turnhout, then Corne van Kessel, then Quinten Hermans, then Laurens Sweeck, Gianni Vermeersch, Pim Ronhaar, and Tom Pidcock's dropped down into 12th, and Ben Turner, his teammate, is in 10th place. Here's our chasing group. Laurens Sweeck crosses the line in 7th place. 7th place at the moment is 1 minute 50 seconds down. Looking down then on Wout van Aert. Staying to the left-hand side, there is a little bit of green there. So there's a little bit of traction, but not too much. And the next rider across the line is Gianni Vermeersch, just behind him. Coming up now is Pim Ronhaar. And then the next rider on the course is Ben Turner. Turner, a bronze medalist in the World Championships in Bielis in 2017. Tissard's just behind him, and then Pidcock in 12th place. Now, you may remember that 2017 Junior World Championship. There is Pidcock. I'm wondering whether Pidcock, what he's going to do, whether he's going to continue. He certainly looks like he is. Tom Pidcock was the winner of the race ahead of Dan Tullet and Ben Turner that day that Great Britain had a very, very emotional junior race. They'd lost their friend Charlie Craig, and they ended up riding into a clean sweep of the junior medals. Ben Turner took the bronze medal that day behind Tullet and Tom Pidcock. It was one of those days of tears on the podium and tears all around. Mathieu van der Poel holding on to his 2nd place at the moment. He's got around 28 seconds on the next rider, and that is Toon Aerts. Just behind is Michael van Turnhout, who is 12 seconds behind. And then it's Corne van Kessel with his teammate Quinten Hermans. Now after this race, you pretty much need to just go and stand in a jet wash, don't you? Trudging their way through the mud. Wout van Aert, the stride length is still strong. He still looks good, full of running, full of riding, and dominating this cross the way that we expected him to do after his tweets and his conversation yesterday. Mathieu van der Poel looks like he just wants this race to end as soon as possible. Wout van Aert just about to lap a rider in front. Looks to me like it might be Jacob Kurti. He might be just in front. In fact, it might be the Irish rider David Conroy, who has not quite been pulled out of the race, and Wout van Aert's about to catch him. You have to admire what the mechanics are doing today, just keeping these bikes somehow clean and in working order. Massive team effort, cyclocross. And yeah, Wout van Aert catches the Irishman, who's now been lapped, and he will drop out of the race. 42 minutes completed. Van Aert is the dominant force in this round of the World Cup in Dendermonde. Bit of a procession today. Lots of questions about whether he's going to swap bikes. He says he won't swap bikes for this season. The geometry of the bike that we'd have to change onto isn't quite what he wants. So he's going to stay on the machine he's used to. I think that's been agreed by the team. And then he will move on to his new machine for the road, which he's already been training on, I'm sure. All the riders will be swapping bikes, getting their new machines ready for January the 1st. New kit arriving, and we get used to that traditional January the 1st. All the head and shoulders shots of riders as they unveil their new squads or new kits for the 2021 season. One of the kits we'll look forward to seeing is the Telenet Baloise new kit, because Telenet disappear as a sponsor of Sven Nace's team. Looking at the rocks underneath the surface as well as the riders trudge through there. Mathieu van der Poel now 1:18 behind. Toon Aerts is not closing in on him now. It's around about 26 seconds. And there is Michael van Turnhout in 4th place. Behind him, just having a little look to see who that is. I don't know whether Michael van Turnhout has caught Toon Aerts now. So a little bit of a surge forward by the World Cup leader. Toon Aerts was on the podium in 3rd place. Just look at the difference in the rider who's been lapped behind. Wout van Aert continues to ride this entire section. It's so impressive how much pace he's able to find. His fastest lap so far, 16.13 kilometers an hour through the mud. Lap number 2 was his fastest lap, an 8:55 lap. So he's gone 9:11, 8:55, 9:04, 9:20. Van Aert reaches the planks, and he's getting close to the end of lap number 5. Can just about see that it's him. Onto the tarmac again. Well, he's made it difficult for everybody. He's not decided to stay with the group. He's just gone out, ridden his own race, left everybody behind. Van der Poel a minute behind now. Coming up to the end of lap number 5, we'll take a look at the lap time of Wout van Aert this time. See if he's slowing down, I wouldn't be surprised. Those legs must be searing now as Wout van Aert reaches the end of lap 5. 2 laps to go, 12.12 kilometres in 46 minutes. It's got to be the slowest 12 kilometres he's ever done in his life. A 9:35 lap that time. ...12 kilometres in 45 minutes. I'm just wondering how fast he can run 10K. Take a look here at Michael van Turenhout. Onto the bike, coming almost to a total standstill. Lovely camera work there by our cameraman up there at the top. Wout van Aert trying to stay right close to the netting on the right-hand side, looking for some bit of traction if he can get it. Mathieu van der Poel, look at the face on this rider. Well, Van der Poel, remember, I think we go back to Namur in 2019-20 season where Van der Poel pretty much had hypothermia after the race. This takes me back to that day. Second place, 1 minute 34 down. I'm pretty much sure that Mathieu would wish that this was 1 lap shorter and we were on the last lap. Third place now is the World Cup leader. He's trying to secure some more points to try and stay top of the leaderboard. And then it's Tonnet, the World Cup defending champion, who gives a little bit of a stretch to the back, lying now in 4th place. Let's run through some other riders for you. So Ben Turner's now in 11th place. Thomas Main now in 12th place for Great Britain. Pidcock down in 15th. The American rider Curtis White is now in 19th. Michael van den Ham is in 21st. Great performance by the Canadian, who's the Canadian champion. It's got to be one of his top places ever in a World Cup cyclocross. Some riders will get their morale smashed today. Others will get real momentum from finishing the highest place they've ever had in a World Cup. 2 American riders in 59th and 60th, Jules Van Kempen and Andrew Giniat. David Conroy of Ireland in 57th place. Heinrich Hausler now in 46th, the Bahrain McLaren professional rider. So a real mix of different places for riders you would normally not expect. And I think for the 2 British youngsters, Ben Turner and Thomas Main, for them, this is a big moment. Almost breaking the top 10 in this World Cup. Wout van Aert, caked in mud. The penultimate lap of this cross. If you'd like to get in touch, at Ant McCrossan is where you can get me on Twitter or on Instagram. Julian Kachinov, thanks very much for your message. Rob Bobro, yeah, this is like tractor racing, isn't it? You're absolutely right. A proper field cross. think we have to go back to around about 2014 to see a cross like this in a World Cup. Not too long until we get to the World Championships now, of course. We're about a month away. Toon Aerts has just caught Michael van Turen out again. This is a real battle between these two riders. One moment Toon is at the front, next moment Michael's at the front. They're keeping each other going out there though. This is one of those days of a little bit of friendship and alliances, trying to keep each other going out there, as Tom Pidcock, I think, has maybe decided enough is enough. He's gone back to his camper van. This is not a day for Tom Pidcock, and not really his sort of cross. You've got to be a big power rider for this sort of slog. The top 10 then: Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, Toon Aerts, Michael van Turenhout, Quinten Hermans, Corne van Kessel, Laurens Sweeck, Pim Ronhaar, Gianni Vermeersch and Thies Aerts. 3 minutes 38 seconds separate the top 10. That's how tough this race has been today. There is Laurens Sweeck in the colours, if you can just about see them, as the Belgian champion. Twice the bronze medalist in the European Championships. Super Prestige winner last season. Hasn't won a World Cup in his career. Loads of podiums. He's finished on the podium 9 times in World Cups. I remember I had that little bit of a crash in Tabor where he face planted over the planks pretty much. When you hear Mathieu van der Poel's breathing this loud, you know how hard this race has been. 53 minutes of racing gone. The breathing of Toon Aerts just ahead of Michael van Turenhout. I'm just wondering what the impact of the sales of Friets has been with no fans at a cyclocross for the entire season. Normally, our traditional thing in Zolder on Boxing Day in the World Cup is to get to Zolder, talk to the riders, get ready, make your notes, and then just before the Zolder cross starts, we all get invited to go out of the back of the commentary box, and they bring in a Friets lorry into the TV compound, and the entire TV production team, including all the commentary teams as well, get Friets and sauce. And we've really missed out on it this year. It's one of those little bit of a tradition has happened for years. So just think of how many fans buy cans of Friets at cyclocross for the entire season, and so far this year there's been absolutely none sold. Wout van Aert, head of the race, coming up towards the end of lap number 6 of 7. This would be his first victory in a World Cup since the 20th of January 2019. Over the planks, he'll be very, very pleased to hear the bell any moment now. And this race is going to be somewhere around about an hour and 7 minutes. Wout van Aert coming up towards the end of lap number 6 now. He knows he's just got around about 9.5 minutes of effort to go. Turns right-hander now, and heads up towards the finish line with no finish gantry because of the 100-kilometre-an-hour winds we had this morning and overnight. 14.5 kilometres in 55 minutes. Wout van Aert gets the bell. 9 minutes 45, that lap, his slowest lap so far. His fastest lap's an 8:55. His slowest lap is nearly a minute slower. But he's still 2 minutes and 5 seconds ahead of the next rider on the course. Mathieu van der Poel being chased down here by Tournette, who is not that far behind now. He's gone forward from Michael van Turnhout, and he's around 14 seconds behind Van der Poel now. There is Tournette in the background. If you think how many fans normally are at these sort of races, normally around 10,000 we would get, all paying as well. There's always tickets sold. Patrick Gagnon, is this the biggest gap Van Aert's ever had on Van der Poel in a cyclocross where they've gone head-to-head? I think it is. No surprises, though. This has been a slog of epic proportions. As Laurens Sweeck tries to stay on his bike in the pits on the left-hand side. Look at the cameras are even misted up now. What a day it's been. Velo follower, thanks for your question. How do they decide who is in the front row when we get on the race start? That's a really good question. It's done on the rankings in the World Cup pretty much. So the top 8 riders are on the front row as Van der Poel gets the bell, 2 minutes and 14 seconds down. So the top 8 riders in the World Cup are Van Turnhout, Wout van Aert, Tournette, Lars van der Haar, Mathieu van der Poel, Quinten Hermans, Corne van Kessel and Dan Soot. And they are on the front row of the grid. Second row then is decided based on UCI classification and your overall in the World Cups. And then in third row of the grid, you're actually allowed to be in the third row of the grid from your rankings as in the mountain bike World Cup as well. So you sometimes find some of the riders on the third row are riders who don't ride cross quite so much and may well ride mountain bike and are allowed to be in that third row. So it's all done on rankings overall. As Wout van Aert makes his way up this hill for the final time, I'm sure he's going to be very, very happy to be completing this final lap. But look at the gap he's opened up. Fifth place is 3 minutes 16 seconds behind. Sixth place, Quinten Hermans. Seventh place, Corne van Kessel. Thanks for all your messages on Instagram and on Twitter. A few of you asking again about Ellie Isabit. Sorrento Girls also asked about Ellie. Just to update you finally, Isabit crashed yesterday, no fractures, is in a lot of pain, had to wear a brace on his elbow last night. We won't see him back until Basel on the 1st of January. And a few like Tom Cropley also asking that question. The top 3 then. Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, Tournette. Tom Pidcock has retired from today's cross. Not really his day. You can forgive him for dropping out of the race. This is not his sort of course. It has been a mud fest. Some of you will love this sort of cross. Others will say that you never want to see it again. It is going to be one of those polarizations of opinion, I'm sure. But it's great to see different courses, different types of riders dominating and doing well. And we're going to see some riders who are going to be in the top 15 places in a World Cup for the first time. We look at the likes of Ben Turner in 11th place, a British rider, Thomas Main, and the American rider Curtis White is going to be in 15th place at the moment. So some younger riders are finding that this course is to their liking. We're very, very lucky that this cross even happened. Just a few hours ago, the messages were that it might not even take place. But the wind has calmed down. We've had a race. Somehow we're keeping this World Cup going. Wout van Aert without his glasses. Michael Gould, did he lose it in that crash, his glasses? I'm not sure, actually. And Neil Webb, why are the riders not wearing their national colours? They only wear their national colours when it comes to the World Championships. It's quite a strange situation, but the World Cups are trade teams, a little bit like on the road. And then when we get to the World Championships, we then have everybody in their national colours, and that's where it gets a little bit confusing for some of us. Chad Brown, you've reminded me that 2019, the Trek World Cup Cyclo-cross, I remember that. Very, very muddy indeed. But you did give away free beer to all the fans. Getting towards the end of what has been a horrendous day for these riders. One rider has loved it. He started his morale boost yesterday evening. Those of you tuned in late, you would have heard his interview yesterday, potentially. He was asked at the end of Zolder yesterday, do you look forward to the ankle-deep mud tomorrow in Dendermonde? And he said, yes, I really do. I'm really looking forward to it. And the interview said, Lars van der Haar doesn't look forward to it at all. And Wout said, well, I can understand it. If I'm ankle deep in the mud, Lars is going to be knee deep. That was his motivation. He knew that today was going to suit him, and he certainly has pushed it out and given everybody something to think about. Wout van Aert is heading towards his first World Cup victory since the 20th of January 2019. Michael van den Ham now of Canada in 16th place. His best result is a 17th place in a World Cup. I think I'm right in saying we have to go all the way back to one of the American rounds of racing. Mathieu van der Poel looking forward to the end of this race. Who's going to take the final place on the podium? It looks like it's going to go to Toon Aerts. Van der Poel, all you can hear across this course right now. Van der Poel is in isolation with his heartbeat, his lungs breathing, and the sound of squelching mud for company. Van der Poel is now 18 seconds ahead of Toon Aerts, who is not giving in. Getting towards the end of this lap. 7th lap of racing, 1 hour and 5 minutes of treacherous cyclocross. Simon Williams, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all of you who've joined us here. I hope you had a great festive period. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring you this cyclocross today. Over the planks for the final time. Wout van Aert is about to win here in Dendermonde in East Flanders. He turns onto the tarmac. No more mud for Wout van Aert, but he has made the mud his own. It has been a mud fest. It's been Van Aert's day. He's going to be on the top step of a World Cup podium for the first time for almost a year. Wout van Aert comes round the corner. The Jumbo-Visma rider can now celebrate. The mud of Dendermonde has been taken apart by Wout van Aert. He wins. Van Aert was motivated by the mud today, and he's taken a well-earned victory. Nearly 3 minutes ahead of the nearest rider. Job done. It was a mud fest and a power fest for Wout van Aert. Now he needs to go in and try and warm up. When was the last time we said this? 2 minutes and 34 seconds behind in second place. Mathieu van der Poel is heading towards the line, being chased all the way by Toon Aerts. Van der Poel just trying to find any little bit of traction, any little bit of power he can. Almost at the end of this long section. Toon Aerts was quite a long way back early on, and he has worked his way through the field, never relenting, never giving in. Van der Poel at the end of that long section. Now he's going to turn back towards the planks. The last lap for Wout van Aert, around about 9:45 again. His fastest lap of the course, an 8:55 on lap number 2. That's when he did all the damage. These riders will be finding grit and mud for about a week. Over the planks for the final time. Mathieu van der Poel coming in now to complete a day he'll probably never forget. Toon Aerts crossing the planks now. Normally we'd see these riders bunny hopping those. There is absolutely no chance of that. Mathieu van der Poel is going to take second place today. Toon Aerts looks around, there's no one behind him. Mathieu van der Poel comes in well over 2.5 minutes down in second place. 2 minutes 42. 17 kilometers in 1 hour 6 minutes. And Toon Aerts is going to get himself on the podium of a World Cup for the first time this season. These riders are absolutely finished. Mathieu van der Poel can't wait to get in and just try and warm up. I think we're going to be waiting for quite a while for the rest of the riders there. The top 10 are nearly 5 minutes separating them. There is Toon. Then Michael van Turnhout, his last day in the World Cup leaders jersey, I think, in 4th place. Wout van Aert should be the World Cup leader. 5th place, Laurens Sweeck. Just behind Laurens Sweeck is going to be Corne van Kessel. Van Kessel comes in the top 6. He's already had a 6th place in Tabor. And behind him is teammate Quinten Hermans in 7th place, who finished 5th in Namur. Eighth place for Pim Ronhaar, who celebrates That's his best performance in a World Cup. He's extremely pleased with that performance today. Then it's T-Serts, who's going to finish in 9th place today. Just behind should be Gianni Vermeesch. Top 10 completed by Gianni Vermeesch. Riders just trying to find any jackets they can to change quickly and warm up a little bit. And a great performance by Ben Turner, who finishes in 11th place. And a sprint between these riders. Thomas Main and Kevin Kuhn. Main gets third. Oh, sorry, Curtis White has come through. Great performance by Curtis White. Couldn't see him in all that mud. 13th place for Curtis. Sorry, Curtis. He gets 13th today. That's a wonderful performance by Curtis White of the USA. Then it's Kevin Kuhn. Then it's going to be crossing the line here for the Alpecin Phoenix team. It's going to be Tim Merlier. Then Joris Nieuwenhuis. Confirmation that Vandenham of Canada finishes 17th. Then Van Dijk in 18th. What a day out there. These riders going to take a few hours to warm up. Joris Nieuwenhuis just trying to get his jacket on. Let's take a look then at the highlights of an amazing day in the mud. Early doors, it was all about Mathieu van der Poel and Michael van Turnhout. A few slips and slides along the way. Wout van Aert got tangled with the bike of Corne van Kessel after Corne had taken a toboggan ride down one of the hills. At the front, it was all about Mathieu van der Poel trying to push on the pace a little bit, and a group of riders kind of forming as Wout van Aert made his way to the front. Eventually, Wout van Aert found his way through and started to attack Mathieu van der Poel. He managed to break him eventually, and he was never seen again. After that point, it was all about slogging your way through the mud. Minutes separating the places. Turnhout's had a good day. He worked his way steadily through the field and eventually got himself onto a podium position. Up front, it was all about power, and Wout van Aert using that to great effect. Eventually, Turnhout went clear of the rest of the chasers, searching for a podium. Van Aert on the hunt for his first win in a World Cup since January 2019. Mathieu van der Poel trying to hold on to second place ahead of Toon Aerts. Wout van Aert wins the World Cup. A day to remember, a day to forget for some. Let's take a look then at the result of today. Wout van Aert wins in 1 hour, 6 minutes and 10 seconds ahead of Van der Poel, 2 minutes 49 down. Toon Aerts in third place. We'll let you digest the rest of the riders and their performances today. Here's the standings in the World Cup. Wout van Aert will take the leader's jersey, now on 95 points, so he has an 11-point advantage on Michael van Turenhout, with Mathieu van der Poel in third place. That face tells you the story. Well, in a few moments we'll hear from the winner of today's race, and of course we'll bring you the podium presentation.
Goeie buren.
The next round of the World Cup will be in Hulst on the 3rd of January. Wout van Aert has ended the 2020 season with a morale-boosting win. The faces of the men in the top 3 places today. Well, thankfully we managed to get this cross to run all the way to the end. It was in so much danger earlier on today. In a few moments we're going to hear from Wout van Aert, and we'll bring you the podium presentation of this round of the cross. There's the bridge on the right hand side, which was decided not to be used today. The course had to be rerouted round it because of the winds. Luckily the wind died down over the hours of racing. But I don't think we're ever going to forget today, are we? Something very, very different. Mechanics, as always, they've been busy. The bike's already nice and clean. So Wout van Aert goes into the new year with the World Cup lead. We'll see whether he can hold on to that in Hulst. There'll be a few riders who want to come back after today and show how strong they are before the World Championships. The Worlds are now just a month away, so it's build-up time. Well, let's hear now from the winner of today's World Cup, the third round, Wout van Aert.
Wout van Aert, dikke proficiat. In Namur was het 3 seconden achterstand. Nu is het een voorsprong van 2 minuten 49. Dat noemen ze een flinke demonstratie.
Ja, bedankt. Dat is echt een enorm lastige cross. En dat had niet veel zin om tactiek toe te passen of wat dan ook. Dus gewoon je tempo zoeken dat je kon volhouden. En ja, dat lag vandaag hoger dan dat van de rest blijkbaar.
Ja, blijkbaar. En nochtans had je niet de allerbeste start. Want na een half ronde ongeveer hing jouw fiets in die fiets van Corné van Kessel.
Ja, dat was even klein op en touw. Maar ja, op zo'n parcours vandaag is dat ook snel weggewerkt. Dus ik ben eigenlijk altijd rustig gebleven. Maar ik had me eigenlijk goed aangekleed. En ik ontplofte een beetje in de start. Ik had iets te warm.
Kan je dan uitspelen?
Nee, ja, dat is wachten tot ik een paar plassen gepasseerd was en dan kreeg ik het vanzelf ook kou. Want op plaats was ik blij dat ik een dik pak had aangedaan. Maar ja, het was erin komen en eigenlijk ja, vanaf dat ik mijn tempo had gevonden ben ik dat gewoon blijven rijden.
En voelde je dan al snel, dit gaat iets te hard voor Mathieu van der Poel?
Ja, ik hoorde al wel eens roepen dat ik wat meters voor had. En ja, dat is niet Mathieu zijn gewoonte om mij zomaar ruimte te geven. Dus dat weet ik ook wel dat het van het afzien is. En ja, toen ik voorsprong begon te pakken, liep ik snel uit. Dus ja, dat was wel goed voor de moraal natuurlijk.
Ja, dat zal wel zijn. De tiende zit op meer dan 5 minuten vandaag. Wat betekent dat nu, winnen met zo'n demonstratie?
Ja, je moet dat gewoon in perspectief zien, denk ik. Op zo'n parcours krijg je automatisch veel grotere verschillen dan bijvoorbeeld in crosses in Zolder. Daar rijden we in achtervolging heel tactisch en dan is Mathieu eigenlijk op een gegeven moment maximaal een minuut voor. Terwijl hier iedereen constant alles geeft en dat de voorsprong toch groter wordt. Dus ja, het heeft gewoon veel met parcours te maken. En dat wil nu niet zeggen dat ik ineens zoveel beter als de rest ben. Maar voor mezelf is het wel een bevestiging dat ik in orde ben natuurlijk.
Wat is nu eigenlijk jouw lievelingsweer? Want Strade Bianche, daar was het meer dan 40 graden. Nu was het regen en ijskoud. Jij kan in elk weerkoersje precies.
Ja, ik moet zeggen dat 40 graden is... ja, dat kan ik wel af, maar dat is toch niet met plezier. Maar zoals vandaag, daar kan ik wel echt van genieten. Hoe raar het ook klinkt, ik hou van zo'n koude weersomstandigheden, wind, een beetje episch. En ja, dan ben ik helemaal in mijn sas.
One question in English. How was it today, Wout van Aert, to power that bicycle in that thick mud?
Well, it was very hard. I think one of the most crazy courses I did since I do CX on professional level. Became worse every lap and the running sections became longer and longer. So yeah, I think it was good that we only saw the course today and we didn't have youth categories here because otherwise it was just a whole lap running. But I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, many congratulations. Thank you very much, Wout van Aert.
Wout van Aert, well, he enjoyed it. Some people didn't, but looking at the tweets of riders who've ridden the course, many enjoyed this considerably. It's what cross is all about in many ways. Mud, rain, tough bike riders, and that's why we all enjoy it. We're going to get ready now for the podium presentation. As the riders make their way there now. And Wout van Aert's going to enjoy being up here on the top step of the podium for the first time in a long time. He's had a good few days, hasn't he? He won on the 23rd in the X2O trophy, but he's not been on the top step of a World Cup for a long time now.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please for the official award ceremony after the third event of the Cyclo-cross World Cup this season, organized today in Dendermonde. Graag uw aandacht voor de huldigingsplechtigheid na afloop van de derde wedstrijd meetelende voor de UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup vandaag hier verreden in Dendermonde. Op de derde plaats geëindigd. Third place, een applausje graag voor Toon Aerts.
Derde plaats voor Toon.
Toon Aerts takes third place today.
In second place as de reigning world champion. Tweede plaats voor de regerend wereldkampioen Mathieu van der Poel.
En draagt ook bruine bloemen.
Van der Poel in second place today.
Mathieu van der Poel.
En dan de winnaar in het midden. De winnaar van deze derde wereldbekermanche vandaag in Dendermonde. The winner of today. Your applause please for Wout van Aert.
Ja, Wout van Aert de winnaar.
Wout van Aert, the winner
Wout van Aert.
of round 3 of the World Cup.
May I invite our official UCI representative, Mr. Peter van der Abelen, UCI Sport Director. He will present the new white and red leaders jersey. We hebben bij ons ook de UCI sportdirecteur zijnde Peter van der Abelen. Hij gaat de nieuwe wit-roodkleurige leiderstrui en ook een bijkomend boeket bloemen overhandigen aan de man die na vandaag aan kop gaat in het huidige wereldbekerklassement. En dat is de man in het midden, de man die vandaag ook deze wedstrijd wist te winnen. U mag hem nogmaals een bijkomend applaus geven.
Wout van Aert pulls on the World Cup leaders jersey.
In het wereldbekerklassement gaat zondag richting Hulst met die prachtige
He last won the World Cup in 2016. Since then it's all been about Mathieu van der Poel and Toon Aerts. And now for the national anthem. There's a podium today in Dendermonde, here in Belgium. A muddy old day in the crossfield. Toon Aerts, Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert.
Dank voor je aanwezigheid. Dank ook aan alle renners en rensters om in deze weersomstandigheden toch wel de wedstrijden op een voortreffelijke manier te hebben afgewerkt. En wij horen en zien elkaar terug zondag aanstaande in Hulst.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's racing. We'll be back on the 3rd of January with the Hulst Cross. Be a very different course to what you've seen today. The riders will enjoy a little bit of New Year, but they've got plenty of racing between now and then. Thank you very much to all of you who've joined and messaged. Have a great New Year, and we'll join you in Hulst. Bye for now.
Ook al, hè, van ja, ik vind dit niet echt.
Dan neemt niks af van de